Welcome to the 2010 Summit Podcast, presented to you by the Oregon Ministry Network. The summit took place April 19th through 21st at Albany First Assembly. The following workshop, entitled Resourcing Leaders, Practical Helps on Reaching Your Community, was brought to us by Lesley, Snider, and Joy Wilson.
Okay, maybe we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Is that okay, Lesley?
Yeah.
And I just want to tell you a little bit why I asked Lesley and Marshall to share this session is, how many of you have been to Bridgetown and see what they do? Any of you? Okay, I will just tell you that it is the most fascinating ministry that we have in Oregon as far as reaching our communities. And I have watched Marshall and Lesley from afar for a long time as they have done ministry. And when we were at Portland Christian Center, we would send teams down once in a while. But I never was able to go down and do hands-on. Still have not been able to go down and do hands-on per se. But as I've watched their vision for Portland just grow, and their just their intensity of never losing sight of what God's called them to do, that has always just impacted me. And we went to an event that they had this last Christmas time, and to hear the testimonies of the people that they work with and the changed lives, it was just so impacting to me. And I said to Bill, I am going to be their number one cheerleader in the entire state of Oregon. And I'm going to tell every church I go to how they need to be a part of Bridgetown Ministries, because I so believe in it. I so believe in what they do. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what they do and how they got started doing this. And maybe there's a way that the same type of thing that they're doing in Portland can start in some small way in your communities. And that maybe Marshall and Lesley could be the couple that would come alongside to help you know how to do what they're doing. And they do lots of different things now, so we'll talk a little bit about that. But their mission statement is loving people because people matter. And we all know that in ministry, people really matter. And not only inside the church, it's outside the church that people matter so much, because lost people matter to God. And how can we love those people into the kingdom? And that's exactly what Marshall and Lesley model for us so well. But what would you say, when did you actually start the ministry? And what brought you to the part of doing this?
Okay, well, that's an easy question. About 2003, we were actually here at one of these summit meetings, district councils, and Marshall ran into Senior Pastor Ken Vanderhoff, who has a church in Tualatin, and he was in a transition and in a place where the Lord was working in his heart and the leadership of the church that we attend right now in Tualatin in their heart. At the same time, Marshall and I were in a transition from youth ministry, but we didn't know what to. And we were given this really fabulous opportunity to just take a year just to seek the Lord and see what he wanted to do in Portland. And so we were guaranteed, first off, they guaranteed us a salary for 2 years and invited us to move to Portland. Our step of faith was to say yes, to that. And we did. And so Bridgetown was birthed, I guess, about that time. But then within the following year, the Lord began to speak very clearly about serving people, starting with sweeping streets in a very tangible, physical way. And that just came as an impression. I want you to sweep streets. And if you've ever heard Marshall speak about that, he'll say something like, he thought it was a intercession ministry, and he was, in the streets, and but it wasn't. And so we would be asked, why are you doing this? Why are you out here sweeping streets? And we began to tell people we're doing it because we think that if Jesus were here, he would do this sort of thing. And then shortly after that, we were downtown by the Saturday market, and he felt another impression like that, very simple impression in his heart, to wash somebody's feet. And so he agreed, and he went and got a chair. Went and got a bowl, and he asked the first person that came along. Happened to be a homeless person. It wasn't a homeless ministry. It never was meant to be a homeless ministry, but that was the first person that came. And when you have an experience like that, it changes you, and the Lord is so good that it was very clear that this is something we wanted to continue doing. So, and it's a ministry that grew. Night Strike is an aspect of Bridgetown that is probably what we're most known for, but it only happened because other people came alongside and said, hey, can I feed people here while you wash feet? Can I cut hair while you feed people and you wash feet? How about clothing? Can I bring clothing and sleeping bags while you guys do this stuff? And eventually it grew into what is now, it's really quite a big deal with the city, from the city's perspective, because we feed about 300 people, and we see about 500 souls, if you like, altogether under that bridge, which puts you on the map in the city as an event. And so that's sort of how it started with Night Strike, I would say, in 2004-ish.
And that's incredible, and that continues to grow.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody from here would want to be a part of that, what would they do?
To be a part of Night Strike is very, very simple, because what you have to understand about Bridgetown is that we're a two-sided coin, if you like. One side is providing relief like we do at Night Strike for the homeless and the poor, not just the homeless. But the other side is mobilization. So you have, in order to get the church mobilized and out of the pews and doing what we're supposed to be doing as the church with a capital C, you have to make it very simple. And so what we try to do is encourage people to just simply register online that you're coming, so we know you're coming, and then show up an hour before we go out. 7 o'clock we meet downtown. A church called Liberation Street Churches so very generously allowed us to use our building, and it's right on 2nd and Burnside downtown. So we all meet there. We have a quick orientation. We do some worship and we pray, and everybody knows exactly why we're there. And then we go out. And so even if you've never stepped foot within the city limits or met a homeless person in your whole life, you can be equipped and doing ministry within an hour. That's our goal.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just simplicity. It's very easy.
So in order to do that, they would email you and let them know that they would be interested in doing this.
Yeah.
Meet you at the Liberty Street Church.
Liberation Street Church.
Liberation.
We encourage everybody, if you don't, it's Bridgetown Ministries is the name of it. BridgetownMinistries.com is our website, and that has all the information you need on it. We encourage people to use the website a lot because we're really, really, really bad at mailing stuff out. So, but we're really good at keeping our website up to date. So that's what we encourage people to do.
Okay, now you say it's really easy to go out and do it.
Yeah.
What's do it? What does that mean to you, Lesley?
That's a good point, because I think I have to tell you a story. When we started doing Night Strike, I did not like doing Night Strike. I thought it was stinky and it was gross, and I didn't want to talk to anybody, and I didn't think they were even coherent enough to hear anything. You know, you have these ideas of what it means to evangelize the lost. Well, what I learned was actually a few years ago at another district council, I might add, during worship. The Lord spoke to me and said, Lesley, you know what your problem is? Which he says quite often to me. You know what your problem is? Your problem is that you do not believe that the life in you is bigger than the death in them. And I was like, what on earth does that mean? But I knew what it meant. It meant that I didn't believe that I had a story. It meant that I didn't believe I had anything worth saying, or that my testimony was worth anything. And that was only because I had never had the opportunity and experience of sharing my faith with someone in a way that was comfortable to me. Because here's what happens. We do evangelism 101, and we're told we should probably evangelize this neighborhood, and so we're going to go knocking on doors and inviting people to church. And we don't know what we're going to say. We don't know what they're going to ask. We don't know how we're going to handle that. Well, what we tell people is you are you, and you're uniquely created. So when we go out, your job is simply to meet somebody and get to know them and get to know their name and hear their story. And if you spend 5 minutes with one person listening, you'll never be the same again. And so what happened was, after I had that experience, I went down there and I said, right then, I am not going to talk to anybody that's a volunteer or any of my friends. I am only going to talk to our guests. We call them our guests. And we have these sit-down areas. We have tables and chairs set up. And I had the most incredible conversations with people, just learning about their lives, and there was no pressure. Because you know what the scripture talks about? Finding that person of peace in Luke 10. Mm-hmm. Look for the person of peace. It shouldn't be a struggle. And I like what Marshall often says, that nobody came to know Christ because they lost an argument. And so we're not out there presenting the four spiritual laws to somebody. All we're doing is being present in their evening. And from there, we allow the conversation to go where it goes. And I know this because it's happened many times, where if you allow that to happen, it does come around. And doesn't necessarily come around that night or in a way you think you led someone to the Lord, although those things do happen. But you touched a life, and you brought dignity to a person, which in effect is the gospel, right?
Absolutely.
Restoring them and calling them back to Him. And there is not a question, if you were to come any night, any Thursday night, there would be no question why we're there, what we're about. But there's nothing posted, and there's nothing preached. It is just simply loving people. So that's why it's easy.
Right. Now, besides Night Strike, there's some other things that Bridgetown Ministries does as well. Tell us a little bit about when teams come and they do the homeless ministry, and then some of the different seminars or types of things that you guys, Marshall and your team does.
Yeah, well, so much of what we do at Bridgetown is about equipping the church to be the church. And so we do have some trips. We call them urban adventures. We do anywhere from 22 hours to 5-day trips. And teams come in and are immersed, if you like, in ministry in the downtown corridor, the main core area of downtown. There is some homeless ministry, there's some leadership lessons and some discipleship training that goes on. Essentially what we endeavor to do is break a little bit of their hearts for the people of our world and of our community. And some ways that we do that, and some things that they take home from that, is that prayer is a fundamental foundational part of winning the hearts of your city. Because if you are out there and you're praying in areas, the Lord is faithful to speak to you and give you a burden for that. And what we tend to do is we put our teams in a certain several square block area several times over their trip in different sort of learning environments. One day they're homeless and they spend the whole day with the homeless community and they eat in missions. And a couple days later they do a love feast for those same folks that they had dinner with maybe a couple days before. We also get them out to learn about the city, because it's amazing how many people come to Portland and don't know anything about Portland. And you may even live just outside Portland. I know I did. I actually wrote a sort of a scavenger hunt sort of thing so I could learn about the city and some of the quirky things about our city. Mm-hmm. So I act as like the tour guide, if you like. And when we do that, people start to gain a little bit of a perspective, and that's something you can certainly take home, is learning about your town and the culture of your town, you know. And then for those churches that it's just not an option for them to bring a team to Portland, we do a couple other things. We do something we call B-Town Mobile, where we actually bring a mission trip to your church. We use your facility and you gather your team there, and we create environments in your community for them to do. It's kind of a lockdown sort of a thing, like a 2 or 3 day thing, and they sleep in at the church and then they're going out each day. And then we do these seminars called mobilization seminars, and that's where Marshall will come in and he'll work with your leadership to establish where your needs are in your community and where you can start showing the love of God. And the reason it's easy is because there is not a single city or town that doesn't have an apartment complex in it, right? So you have, right off the bat, a place to begin to serve those who have need. So,
right, and if so, in the communities that are represented here, like today, what would be some of the first things that you would encourage these people to do if they were to come up to you afterwards and say, Lesley, how can I start?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would encourage you to do, if I were to use the model of Bridgetown, is to take some time to pray for your city. And allow the Lord to speak to you. And it doesn't have to be complicated, but just allow Him to lead your heart to a certain area. My friend was over for dinner, and she was attending a church, and they were doing an evangelism class, and they wanted them to knock on doors. And she knew the neighborhood that they were going to, and she thought maybe it would be a good idea, because there were a lot of young moms in that area, to maybe bring diapers and wipes and see if you can't bless them. And it was just such a foreign concept for them. They actually didn't agree to it because it was unusual to go in with actually, you're actually serving instead of thinking you verbally have something to give them. This eternal life is far more precious than diapers, right? So my point is, if you just seek the Lord and ask Him to show you where you should begin, and then find what are the needs of that particular community that you've chosen. I do a ministry into some apartments. I call it the Manna-Truck Ministry. I totally stole that name from the Bible, from the Los Angeles Dream Center, who'd send out trucks to neighborhoods filled with food, right? Except I don't want to deal with cold storage and leftovers and things like that. So I thought I'll do household items. So let me back up. We started at B-Town Kids, which we call it B-Town Kids. It's a children's program in an apartment complex in the summertime. And then in the wintertime, we were thinking, how can we stay connected with these families in order to build trust or keep trust so that the next year we weren't wasting time, you know? Well, I started this Manna-Truck Ministry, and it grew into what is now like a lot of household items like toiletries, toilet paper, dish soap. I can't even tell you how many stories I have, how many moms have told me that literally has helped them keep a roof over their children's heads, because they are able to pay the rent, because they don't have to pay, or they don't have to buy clothes, because I provide clothes for 300 kids, fairly regularly. So
let's stop there just a moment. How do you do that?
how do I do that? Oh, I partner with other organizations that are around, and if you're anywhere near Portland at all, there's a fabulous organization called Northwest Children's Outreach, and they are like a clothing warehouse. They have 6 of them in the Portland area. They work with agencies. We became an approved agency several years ago, and I just literally order online, say Johnny needs a size 6, size 3 shoe, and then he loves Spider-Man, and moms and dads come and they fill these bags and they pray over this one child, and then I give that kid this huge bag of clothes and toys and belts and shoes and books, and as often as the mom wants it, they get it. Which is an interesting point, because I think a lot of times we do tend to determine the moral worthiness of a group of people, and we see families who don't have food on their table, but they have a great big screen TV, and it's easy to go, well, maybe they just have their priorities mixed up, and maybe they do. But that's not what we decided a long time ago. That is not what we're called to do. We're called to meet the need. And so these things, clothing, toiletries, dish soap, everybody can use them. Every family can use them. And we call them the keys to the kingdom, because we know that when we provide clothing for someone, we're clothing the naked, and we're binding nakedness, and we're binding hunger when we bring a food box. So you have to partner. You have to find people who will partner with you. And it's surprising, because I started just within my own local church, and I had, this mom over here who said, when someone needs a food box, you tell me, because I want to provide good, fresh food. And they'll spend $100 on a food box. And so I've learned to just not be afraid to ask for things. And I have a little network that I update and I send out, and on the end I add felt needs. And I couldn't do it without the body of Christ. And I'll tell you this too, when I see a mom and I meet her for the first time, I have such confidence, because God has proven himself over and over to provide the need. And oftentimes, before the need's even presented, I have the thing, like the couch or the dining room table and chair set or something. And then I meet a mom and she says, if I just had a dining room table and chair, and I say, do you love God? Because he loves you and he knows your name. And I have it, and he put me here on purpose to tell you that he loves you. And he cares about you, and he cares about your kids. I wasn't able to say that in the beginning, because I didn't know if anything was going to come in. But that's how good God is. He just shows you,
How do you determine when you're getting these things from people so that they don't give you garbage? Because the last thing you want to do is give somebody else.
I won't.
No.
I won't pass on anything my families, where these families live, there isn't even a bus that runs on the weekend. And it's in the inner city of Portland. So I'm not going to give them anything that they have to throw away in 6 months.
Right.
Or if I won't give them anything I wouldn't put in my own house. And what I generally tell people is, if you would give that to Jesus, then you can give it to these. Because it is as if you're giving it to him and he's giving it to them. So what do you want it to say to them?
Very good.
I want my moms to go, you did that for me? And you know what I've also had to do? I've had to go back in the house and pick up those chairs that I gave them 6 months ago that are now trashed. And I bring them to my friend who redeems furniture, and she fixes them up and we take them back. So there's an element of, you don't own it once you've given it, And
and obviously, just listening to even that, that somebody would trash something and then you would take it back, get it fixed, and give it back to them. There's no judging.
No.
There's no, if you do this again, you're not getting it,
Right.
type of thing. It's just showing God's love.
Right.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
There's a message of redemption in that too,
Oh, totally.
that you're showing them
Yeah.
what God does with their own lives,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
even when they mess it up.
I have a cool story to tell you.
Go ahead.
I had a mom who, okay, so when we were doing the manna truck, and we pulled this truck in once a month, and I started seeing, 40, 50, 60, 70 moms line up at the truck. And they were coming from far away, like Gresham. And they're supposed to be my families of my kids that are in the program. And they were getting on the phone and calling their friends, for free toilet paper, whatever. You need to drive 20 miles to get that, I don't know. So I got, my volunteer staff were getting a little irritated. And it was becoming very difficult to create any sort of relationship with any of my moms, which I have to remind myself is what we're there for, right? Mm-hmm. It's to build relationships with these families and come alongside them, not just a handout, even if they need it. And so we stopped the manna truck, and we had a big meeting with my staff, and we're all scared, right? Mm-hmm. And this is how the Lord has drawn me into leadership too, because I usually would default to somebody else's leadership, but we had to make a decision. And I said, well, we got to decide, are we going to do visitations, so like in people's homes, or are we just going to let it go? And they all sort of just stared at me, and I said, okay, we're going to do visitations. I'm going to make this work. And I'm scared to go to someone's home. It's much easier just to pull this truck in and let them come to you. But it was obvious that wasn't what we were supposed to be doing. So I was driving home, and I got a phone call from this lady named Tanya. I'd never met her before, ever. She just moved into the apartments, but she got my number and said, would you pray for me? I heard that you would pray for me. And I was like, okay, yeah, of course I'll pray for you. We got to talking, and I told her about this visitation thing I was starting up, and she started to cry. And she said, would you visit me? And I'm thinking, yeah. She's one that's not going to slam the door in my face. So a couple days later, Marshall and I went over there. He took us some toiletries, which is a really great thing to bring when you're coming to someone, Bring them something they can use. And she invited us in, and she just had a mattress on the floor in her living room, one mattress. She had a small table with like one chair. And then she had a couple boxes against the wall that pretty much had all of her knickknacks in it, everything she had. And she had 3 kids. One of them was a starter at Roosevelt High School football team. And they were all there. And I was like, surely your furniture's coming, right? And she's like, no, I had to move really fast. And this is it. And so I said, well, I think that we can probably do something about this. I didn't tell her a whole lot. Well, I got on my email, and some of you might have got that if you're on my email chain, and I said, I think we can furnish this apartment pretty quick with just what you have in your garage. I have a couch in my garage. I have an extra TV in my garage. It's a man cave for the boys. So I put that out, and sure enough, I started getting all of these emails back saying, I've got a couch, I've got a bed. I probably have 4 couches. I had beds and dining room sets, and I even had a trophy holder, because I had mentioned the boy had some trophies in the box. Wow. So I called her back, and I said, I think we've got your apartment furnished. I'll tell you what, we were doing a big Thanksgiving basket giveaway that weekend, 120 Thanksgiving baskets we gave away. I said, I'll bring you the rug that day. I even had an artist donate, what do you call them, original prints, original paintings. There was a guy that was helping me with the Thanksgiving baskets. I said, would you run this rug up to Tanya's place and let her know that I'm going to be organizing the rest? I had to get it all together in a truck and all of that. He goes up there, comes back, and tears are streaming down his face. He says, I just downsized my entire house, and I have a whole apartment worth of furniture in storage. I have leather couches. I have his furniture wasn't over a year old. He said, can I just give it to her? And I said, Sure. Okay, so now I know all the furniture's in one place, right? I just need one truck. Then this lady walks over, her name's Ashante. It's the end of the Thanksgiving baskets. I have 2 baskets left with no names on them. I'm thinking, oh, the Lord wants her to have one of these baskets. So I said, I'll take it to your house with you. Go to her house, it's completely empty. And that was when I was able to say, Ashante, I think God knows what you need. And I think he put me in your path because out of 120 baskets, this is the only one I personally delivered. Because I was being the, the drill sergeant at the truck. So I went over there. Marshall happened to come with me. I told her I can get you furniture. Do you trust me? And I'm, kid you not, leaving that parking lot and I get a phone call. I was just going to put all my stuff on Craigslist. I'm going to send you a list of stuff that I have. I want it to go to the mom number 1, right? She didn't know about mom number 2. So I said, well, mom number 1's taken care of. Can I give it to mom number 2? And she's like, sure. And I'll tell you what, I have a flatbed truck. And I used to be in construction. I'll just bring it on Wednesday. And I said, can you pick up another apartment's worth too? And she said, sure, no problem. Both apartments furnished by Wednesday after Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Or, excuse me, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, because we gave the baskets away on the Saturday. So I just am amazed at what the body of Christ can do when she's called to do it. And I think a lot of times we just underestimate. And that message that goes out to those moms.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, because, and it's, I guarantee it's the same message in any apartment complex you go to. This is all you're going to get. This is all you can expect. This is all you're worth. Especially in those ones that are, in the apartments that are maybe Section 8, where we have 93% of the kids in this apartment complex are on free or reduced lunch. So this is not because they're, in transition in their executive jobs. This is all they have. So the message is very loud and clear. And if you spend an afternoon with me and visit these moms, you will hear it very, very clear. I have no way out. This is all I have. I don't have any hope. And I just have seen what we bring is so invaluable to their lives, and I look for that person of peace. It's very easy for me to know when I'm going to pray with someone and when I'm not going to pray with that mom. Mm-hmm. It's very obvious they're either there or they're not there. And there's no pressure on me because the Lord does the wooing, right? He does all the work. I just have to put myself in their midst.
So as I'm hearing you say that, if I'm sitting here and I'm in it, and obviously I can't imagine this doesn't tug on everybody's heart as you're listening. Something like this is how do I even begin something like this? What would be the first steps? Obviously, if the Lord's tugging on our hearts, and I've told Lesley where Bridgetown is not too far away from where I am now, and I've said, Lesley, I just want to be able to come over and organize whatever comes in. If I have a couple of hours in the afternoon, I'll just come over and do what you need me to do. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it, because every once in a while I'll have just a couple of hours. So, and I've committed that to her. And when I come home from this vacation that will go on, I'm committed to doing that. I've asked if I can shadow her. I just want to go with her one day just to see what she does, because I'm so intrigued by what she does. And it's like, in the ministry that I'm in, I might not be able to do the same ministry that Lesley's called to. But if I can shadow her, if I can watch her, if I can observe her, when I'm in other churches and people are asking me different things, I can explain to them in a greater dimension what they're doing. And I would just love to see this be going on. I really believe that's how we can begin to touch our communities. Is by taking a small unit that we recognize that they need Jesus, and we'll never get them in the doors of our churches, never. We just need to go be Jesus with skin on to them. Mm-hmm. And what is their greatest need, and how can we meet their greatest need? And when I'm thinking of even the fact that here Mother's Day is coming up close now, and we're talking about moms here. And I know one year when we were at Portland Christian Center, I had all of the moms bring in toiletries, but I wanted them all packaged nicely. I said, just don't bring me a bag of them. I want them to be put in a basket, neatly done. And then I took them all down to the Portland Rescue Mission. And I said, you have women that come in here all the time that don't have these things. And we just want to be able to give them. And if they don't need the basket, because sometimes they don't have any place to put those baskets, but at least we knew that we had given them toiletries that they could use. Now, that's maybe a different way of doing something that you're doing to get started. But, think of creative ways as you're coming up to Mother's Day, and especially a lot of single moms, begin to ask the Lord, Lord, how can I do something for you in the next month? And by getting your people involved with you. I think we have not, because we don't ask. And we can say, oh, joy is the economy. We surely can't ask our people to give one more thing. You know what? Somehow when we give, God gives back more than we could ever give. And I think that's the message that we have. God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. He is Jehovah Jireh, the God that provides. And, we have to walk in the fact that He's in control.
Yeah.
And my daughter has been home with us and has been going through a difficult time herself. But one of the things I've watched in her life, and it's been a great lesson for me to see through her eyes, is the fact that she consistently has said, God is in control. Yeah. God is in control. And her thing is we've got to learn to live in God's economy, not our economy.
Yeah.
And that's where we've got to keep our eyes on, is the fact we are living in God's economy. And if God is laying something on our hearts, just like it is with you with Bridgetown Ministries, that we can't hesitate.
Right.
We can't say, well, in a month from now, 2 months from now. Whenever we do it, it's going to take that step.
Yeah.
We've got to take that first step. And it's like, if you want to walk on water, you've got to get out of the boat. It's the same type of thing. In order to see something happen, you've got to take that first step of doing it. When Lesley took her first step, I'm sure she wasn't going up, yippee, I can't wait to do this, because I'm sure you go a little bit in fear and trembling, not knowing what's going to be at the other end of that door.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that if you were interested in ministering to an apartment complex, there's really only one person the initial person you need to influence is the management. And the way you do that, once you capture the heart of the manager, he will or she will begin to point you to the people who have need, right? So you don't have to look at the apartment and go, I'm sure every mom in here needs this dish soap, right? So what we did was, we were trying to get in with, remember the kids truck, right, the kids ministry. So we began planting flowers at their entrance. That's what we did. And we just beautified their entrance. So if you were along that bench, maybe there was a flower bed or something like that you could say, hey, can we manage this for you? Most of them hire landscapers, but some of them, that's a budget item that helps them a lot if they don't have to spend the money. So, or you might be, maybe they're on a main road and you say, we want to pick up all of your trash. Make sure you tell them what you're doing, right? And you make yourself known to them. And then you might explain to them, listen, we know there's a lot of need here. We're here to come alongside people. We don't have an agenda. right? When we started the children's ministry, we weren't able to make it a Christian ministry because they have multiple cultures represented, and they have city guidelines and rules that they're trying to, accommodate. And so finding out what the needs are from the management, what they see, getting to know them is probably your first step. And then beyond that, then when you've built trust, see, now my manager actually will email me when new families come in and say, I'm not sure if you're accepting new families, but, into your thing. So that she obviously has a great understanding of what we're trying to accomplish. And a lot of times management are hardened to the adults, but they love the kids. They figure, at least in my experience, has been, look, these adults have made their bed and they can lie in it. But the children, we need to affect. And when they know kids are sleeping on the floor, and when they know kids are not eating, they may just call you and say, hey, is there anything you can do? And also get to know what agencies are in your community. Because if you can act as a resource person, maybe you can't provide everything, but like I do with moms, especially when I feel they've been really grabby, because moms will get that way sometimes. I start pointing them, look, I'm bringing you a food box. Here's 4 food banks in your neighborhood and their numbers and their hours of operation. Or you need dog food. Guess what? The Humane Society gives away dog food. Did you know that? But you got to show your ID. They won't give it to me, so I'll bring a bag of dog food and the number to the Humane Society. So you're acting as a resource, not just a handout. Because it's easy as believers. We have compassion, and we end up being enablers a lot, and we're trying to, do everything for them. And I have some favorites, truthfully, that the Lord has not allowed me to let go, and I will. That one with the chairs is one of them. She is my favorite. That's why I do it, over and over and over. But you'll see that it takes shape. The Lord will show you how to go.
And then you talked about going in and doing things for the children.
Yeah.
And now, even now knowing that we're going into the summertime, what is something that maybe could be done in the other communities that you've seen to be successful? And how did you do it? How did you get in there?
We focus only on these kids who we already have seen all summer. So providing lunch for them is a great way to get in to apartments. They have a commons area, you're going to provide lunch on a Saturday for them.
No, you get management permission first.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can't just go in there, I don't think.
Okay.
Back to school supplies is another one. And you can jump in on what your community is already doing. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So if the school in town is doing a back to school drive, jump in on that. See how you can be a part of that. We provided one year all of the homes, not all of them, but a good number of them, welcome mats. Outdoor to wipe their feet. Huge for the apartment manager and for the mom, We do a Christmas party. We have also come alongside, because a lot of times management will have organized events throughout the year, like National Night Out, or they'll do National Safety Day, or they'll do, we had an Easter egg hunt, and we do caroling at Christmas. These are all put on by the apartments, and we provide all the people. They couldn't do it without us. We provide people and tables and coolers, and they just come up with the idea and we go, we'll do it for you. So we actively seek to be a blessing to them first. And then the kids they just are such lovers, Any tiny bit of affection that they get is massive. It's huge. Something else we don't really, I don't feel like my kids lack for that in my home. But I have moms that call me, when are you starting B-Town Kids? Well, it doesn't start till June. It hasn't been going since August, September. But when are you starting? I heard it wasn't happening. And my kids ask me every day, is B-Town Kids today, It just means so much to them.
What do you do with the
The B-Town Kids? B-Town Kids is just it's like a Saturday sidewalk Sunday school. It's all mobile. And so we face paint and we feed them lunch. We do bubbles and we put them all on the tarps. And then we sing Jesus is our superhero. We do games. We do some message now. We've got 2 apartment complexes that we work on. One has 4 apartment buildings all together. And then we have the New Columbia, which is there's 20,000 people in that area. 18 different nations, right? They invited us to come, and what we did with them is we asked them, what do you want taught to your kids this summer? And they said, health. We want you to teach on health. So we're going to do the fruits of the Spirit, and we're going to correlate a fruit of the Spirit with a good habit and overlap the 2. So there are ways they're totally okay with you, and this is in Multnomah County. You know, they're okay with you presenting the gospel, but you have to do it in such a way that nobody feels excluded. So the Muslims need to feel welcome too. And, you know, and the Buddhists need to feel like they have something to glean as well. So our messages overlap. And we just have a lot of fun. And we're fortunate enough to have a couple of vehicles with the side folds down into a stage. But you don't have to have that. You don't really even have to have a sound system. Because a lot of times apartments don't like a lot of noise anyway. So, and when we do the gospel presentation, the sounds come off and all the kids gather in and they give a little Bible encapsulated like that.
So you're able to do that even though you've got the different types of religions there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you still present the gospel?
Yeah, we do.
But you're giving some practical information.
So
that's the part that they feel like they
right, and kids are free to move away if they don't want to be in there. And again, I think if you show the management that you're trustworthy and that you care not just about your agenda, but that you're coming alongside them, and if you're looking for that person of peace, don't try to go to an apartment where the management is hostile towards you. Why? Do that to yourself. You know, look for that one where they're like, yeah. It's interesting that this apartment complex is way out there. I mean, I live in Canby. I drive 40 minutes to this apartment complex. This isn't because it's in my neighborhood, you know. This is where the Lord has opened the doors, so we go there.
One more question. How do the apartment dwellers know that you're doing it? Just through word of mouth they see, or do you put like a flyer on the door?
We canvassed to begin with. We'll canvass for the summer probably at the end of May.
Door-to-door invitation?
Every door. And because we have favor with the management now, at least one of them, there's 4 managers, at least one of them will put it in her bulletin, you know, that goes out to everybody. Maybe 2 of them will do that this year. But get your people out. And you don't even have to knock on doors, but you can, and just hand them a flyer. It doesn't take long to get it going. The first year was kind of tough. We had like 20 or 30 kids on a good day. And then the second year we had about double that, and then the next year we had maybe double that. We run about 300 kids between the 2 sites any week now. So I think word of mouth takes over. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I have one. Our church is kind of at a revitalization stage, and we're really looking at how to get involved in our community and get people out of the church into the community. But how would you go about doing that with people at a church body who have been so involved in the church and haven't gone out? There's so much fear, insecurity, and even with our youth, because I'm a youth pastor too, they don't even know where to begin, what to say, how to interact. We hand out chips at the bus depot on Wednesday nights once a month, and they are just freaked out the whole time. You know what I mean? They don't know what to say, they don't know what to do, and we've coached and taught, but there's just so much fear. Mm-hmm. What would you say is like one great thing or a couple of great suggestions on how to get kind of past that, to get people really starting to plug in?
Well, I'm not here to promote Bridgetown. But if I were in that position, I would do one of those trips and I would immerse them in ministry. But if that's not possible, let's say you just have a lot of diehards in your church, they're not leaving the pews, then I would bring somebody in to try to inspire them. And then if you have somebody, like if you brought Marshall in or one of our team members in to do a B-Town mobile or mobilization conference, those areas would be pointed out. And I mean, it doesn't get any easier than that.
Yeah.
Look, I'll take you there and show you how to do it. But you have to have the heart to do it, you know.
And I think that's the part I think a lot of churches don't know about Bridgetown Ministries is that they do the training.
Yeah.
And you can go on site or they'll come to your site to help you. And that was one part that I said to Lesley. I said, I don't think everybody understands that it's not just night strike.
Yeah.
That you are doing far more than just night strike. And so that's where I've said, you know, I want to be your advocate. I just want to help people know that, you know, where, like you're saying, I'd like to do this. But here's somebody who's trained, who already knows the tools that could come alongside you and say, come on, bring your group. We'll help you go through this. And then you've got that person that you always know if you have a question that you. But if you're out there trying to do it on your own and have nobody to funnel your questions to, then it can get very frustrating and disappointing, and then it goes down the tubes.
Yeah, but you know, have you seen that viral video about the guy that was dancing on the hillside?
Yeah.
Have you seen that? And then, did you post that, Deanna?
I posted that.
Okay, so the guy's dancing, and it's kind of embarrassing. It's kind of like a Woodstock setting.
Oh, okay.
And then one more comes, and now the two of them are dancing, and then one more comes, and like within no amount of time, then just hordes of people come. I think that don't underestimate the power that you have by just modeling first, being the first leader, and then you need to find one that's the second leader, the first follower that will start the momentum. And you know, you talked about the rescue mission. You know, the leader, the director of the Shepherd's Store Ministry, which is the women's shelter of Portland Rescue Mission, is a very well educated, very classy, sharp woman. Do you know her? Jan Marshall, her name is. She twice a month goes to the Portland Rescue Mission and she pulls girls out of the line and she washes their feet and she gives them manicures or hand rubs, and she has to give the guys candy bars so that they'll let them go. But she does that. She doesn't need to do that. She's the director of the Shepherd's Door. She does not need to do that. But she keeps herself real by providing that and then calling others to go. When I talked to her, I was like, I want to do that. Like, I don't wash feet. Of course I wash feet under the bridge, but I want to do it with Jan, you know, because she's it's incredible influence.
And just a comment too. We've been immersed in a revitalization project too, and one of the things that is really key to envisioning the people and changing their mindset, turning their paradigm is vision. Is wrapping every message that you speak, wrapping the vision in there somewhere, you know, and always repeating. Repetition is the best teacher, and modeling it yourself and letting it be your passion that everybody sees, that, you know, and don't be afraid to let it be on display. Everything that you do, because it's you know, our testimony that is what really brings life to that. And on networking is a major thing too. It's not reinventing the wheel, but if you see there's a gap where there's something not being done, if the Lord gives you an idea to fill that gap, then to make up something new that will fit, that will actually bridge ministries together and other things together, but always just repeating the vision and putting that into.
Maybe that's what they're lacking. If you know, if what they're doing is giving out chips at the bus station, right? Which is it can be really powerful. But if they're not sure why they're doing that, they're not getting the message that this is how we're showing love.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where they're missing it. And then it does become a fear thing. You have no idea. No idea. And if somebody should dare, engage you in conversation, what on earth? So maybe they're feeling ill-equipped a little bit, and just understanding that God uniquely wires you to communicate in a certain way, and you need to be okay with just communicating the way you do. And there's no right way, or wrong way, I should say.
Yeah.
Probably better.
No, that's good.
Did you say the B-Town Kids mobile thing was every Saturday or once a month, or how?
It's every Saturday in the summer.
June through August.
Yeah, because we have really crappy weather.
How long, like, get a rough time frame, like 2 hours?
It's about 2 hours. 1 to 3 is sort of our time frame. Our staff and volunteers gather at 10, and then we get to the site about noon, and we spend about a good hour just being at the site. And if sometimes we might canvass early on in the summer too during that hour and just knock on doors. Most of my moms, I don't know about your moms, but they do not have memory worth squat. So unless they write it down or pin it on their fridge, they are not remembering anything.
Is it the same volunteers every week?
We have a core group, yes, but no, we use our teams that come through, actually, part of our mission adventures. That's what they end with in the summertime.
Because our church, again, we're kind of, in the last year, things have really started to get some momentum and turn around, but for several years we've talked about, we've been wanting to do kind of a mobile, go to an apartment thing and just do something simple just to try to have fun with the kids or something. But every time we've never ended up having it happen because our volunteers, small church, work all week, then they're helping all day Sunday, and then if we take a huge chunk out of their Saturday too, I just don't know how.
Yeah, and I feel that way sometimes with my visitations because I'm very committed, and so is my Spanish speaker. But we have people who have good hearts and they really want to do something, but their leg hurts today. And they, or they forgot that they were supposed to be at the mall. And you have to, I just go, okay, the Lord will have to bring about the people. I can only do what I can do with who I have. But you take those faithful ones and do what you can, and maybe adapt it. Maybe you can't do a big full-on program, but...
The visitation, that's a different time, or is that part of your Saturday?
It's a different time. Because we found that the moms came out with the kids to the program, and they would sort of sit around the outside. That's how the Manna Ministry started. Because I started seeing over the kids to these moms, and I thought, I wonder what they could use. And I made a diaper station at one of those little tables.
Yeah.
And I just put diapers on there. And the first gal that stole them all was when I learned I have to control the diaper station. She had her stroller loaded up.
Oh my word!
And one of my helpers went after her and said, "You can't take all the diapers," because we were just letting them take what they needed, She got mad and she threw them all out onto the ground. We picked them up and put them back on the table. But she's one of my moms she's one of my favorite moms. Yeah. I see her all the time. She texts me when she has toothache. She texts me for prayer. So you can win them.
Are you emailing us then? Because you got our email address.
This was for Oregon Ministry Network.
Okay, so if we wanted to maybe dialogue with you some more, can we get your email address?
Yeah, if you go to bridgetownministries.com and you click on the contact, there's an info email, and that comes right to me.
Okay.
And then I take anybody that emails Bridgetown goes on my goes in my database, like it or not.
BridgetownMinistries.com or
.com. Yeah.
Any other questions before we close?
The only other thing I would say is to just not, just be careful not to make it just about your church. Don't limit your vision. You know, what we've found is that we have volunteers from all denominations. We have Baptists and Methodists and Lutherans, and you know, the body of Christ is what we need to focus on. You know, so just be open as people come to you and say they want to be involved. Try to find ways to get them involved right away. You know, because it will. This is God's thing. He loves this kind of thing. We're out of time, aren't we?
We are.
Wow.
And we worried that we'd fill up the hour. Well, let's pray together for Bridgetown Ministries and your communities and what God can do in your communities, because obviously you're here because you have a heart for something to do in your areas. And when I put the learning labs together, it's always interesting, because we go from these places thinking, okay, you know, I'll go back from this one this year and I'll say, okay, Lord, what do you have for us next year that is different than what we've done this year? And inevitably something through the year will trigger the different sessions we have. And the sessions, when we do the sessions, we want them to be something that really are meeting people's needs. We don't want to just do labs because we need to do learning labs. We could all go spend an hour's nap if we wanted to. But if it's going to meet the needs of what people are wanting and what they're desiring of, that's what we want to do. And I know that's why you're here, because you have a heart for this. So let's pray together, okay? Mm-hmm.
Thank you for listening to the 2010 Summit Podcast. For more information on the Oregon Ministry Network and our events, please visit our website at oregonag.org.